Here today. I'm here to talk to you about astrology today, some current transits that are going on, and how you can use your Enneagram and the strength of your Enneagram type to get through some of this. And it's all going to be in the context of anger. It's pretty much the key focus of what we're talking about. Anger, maybe frustration, depending on where on the spectrum you're going to fall on some of this. So, full moon in Cancer today, if you're watching this today, it's Monday, January 13th. So we have the full moon in Cancer, and Mars has been retrograde in Cancer as well. So we're going to look today about look at how that is going to affect um, different people, different Enneagram types, the 9 types, and again ways that you can find to navigate a pretty difficult energy, quite frankly. So again, today we've got the full moon. And Mars retrograde, and the sun is also going to be opposing that Mars retrograde later this week, I think midweek. I think it's Wednesday. So it's safe to say, with the emotionality of the moon and the aggression of Mars, it's going to be easy for our buttons to get pressed in the next week or so. So we're going to look a little closer at that in this episode. So first, I would like to remind you to like, comment, subscribe, and share. It's a great way to support the channel. It's an easy way for you to support the channel, and it really does matter. So I would really appreciate if you could do that. And so I want to ask you how, in general, how do you prepare for difficult times and or conflict? That's pretty much what we're going to be talking about today. So yesterday, I made a point of getting myself out of town. I live in the Phoenix Valley, and I made a point of getting out of here and going up to Prescott, which is just about 90 minutes, if that, north of where I live. Um, and I went up to the Granite Dells, which is formation of rocks. It's pretty magnificent. They're 1.4 billion year old rock formations. And as soon as you just pull up to them, you just feel that anchoring of your energy. Um, so I've been feeling what I affectionately refer to as the the challenges of the lesser minds around me. And I say that lightheartedly. But not everybody is here on the planet doing their work. Certainly not everybody is here with an understanding of their Enneagram type, and certainly not everybody is here paying attention to what astrology can teach us about ourselves and how we can improve ourselves and how we can improve our relationships and make our experience on this planet better, and ideally leave this planet better when we are no longer here. So that's how I use this stuff. That's how I encourage people to use it. And I fully acknowledge that not everybody here understands that or is willing to do that work. So when I joke around and talk about, navigating the energy of the lesser minds, not that anybody's lesser, I don't literally mean that, but sometimes it feels like that. Sometimes it just feels heavy and oppressive and just too challenging, and reason doesn't apply in certain conversations where it should. You guys know I'm a type 5, so when you tell me reason doesn't apply, that's a tough day. Um, so, but that's the energy we're in, so this is where we're challenged. So, spending that day at the Dells yesterday, I thought about a pretty old movie now, with it's Matthew Broderick movie. He was quite young. I was quite young when this movie came out. War Games is the name of the movie. If you're not familiar with it, go find it. It's pretty good. Um, but there's a fantastic, and full disclosure here, if you haven't seen the movie and you want to, just, fast forward. It ends with the computer saying they're engaging in what they originally think is a computer game, and it ends up being that they're launching, by the end of the movie, they're about to launch nuclear missiles, that they hack into this computer system, right? And the computer at the end, when they defuse the whole thing and they stop the missiles from being launched, the computer says to them, this is an interesting game. The best way to win is to not play at all. So, being at the Dells and just thinking about some things that are going on in my life around me with people that just, they can't see the bigger picture, they can't do the reasoning. Very immature souls, quite frankly, very immature souls. It's leaving me with this notion from that film, just being up there in such incredibly absorbent nature. It's wherever you live, find a place in nature that will absorb these stress points in you, because it makes everything change. Um, but that's what I came out of there with. That is what I came out of there with. The best way to win is to not play at all. So how do we do that? How do we do that first? I'm going to talk about the transits and where they're challenging and how they're challenging. And of course, wherever these transits are happening in your chart, it's going to press very specific buttons for you. We're not going to get into that today. There are other places you can go for that information. Or if you want to do that work more directly on your chart with me, reach out. We can schedule that. Um, but um, but yeah, this is a really good time to work through, um, to work your energy. Let's say it that way, to work your energy so other people don't end up playing you like a fiddle, because these transits right now can really cause people to be reactive. If you're here, you're probably interested in astrology, you're probably interested in the Enneagram, you're probably interested in improving yourself. Um, and again, a lot of people here on the planet aren't, and they don't even know that they should, right? They're just doing the day-to-day thing. So again, this is the time to work your energy to avoid being manipulated into conflict. That's because that's really what can very easily happen right now. So full moon in Cancer, right? So we've got the fullness of the moon. The moon in Cancer is all about connection, relationship, emotions. The deeper, the better. Feeling, right? Home and safety, because Cancer is the crab. They travel with their shell, so they travel with their house. So there's this Cancerian nature that has to do with the home and the safety of the home, the safety of your shell, the safety of your enclosure, right? Your energetic enclosure. And just home and hearth, right? So there's your full moon in Cancer. But we have Mars retrograde in Cancer at the same time. And Cancer is not, Cancer is about emotionality and relationship and connecting. Not what Mars wants to do. Mars is aggressive. He's the god of war. Um, Cancer is not his happy place, right? So just not where Mars is comfortable. These are emotional waters. Again, the moon it's a watery energy. Cancer is a watery energy. It's emotional waters. Mars ain't liking that either. Mars is fire. Okay. So this is a time where we really need to work. Work means effort. Work means getting a little uncomfortable, and with balancing your emotions so that you can deal with conflict, because the conflict in these transits are inevitable. They're absolutely inevitable. I'm just clicking off my devices here so they don't chime in the middle of this. So there's this tension between emotionality, safety, home, hearth, relationship, and not being comfortable, wanting to be aggressive in the emotional waters. Okay. Um, so some themes that are possibly coming up for you, and again, this depends on where it's hitting in your chart, but themes that have to do with home, relationships, and values that have to do with nourishing yourself or others, and feeling safe. So I'm going to give you a little example of how this played out yesterday for me on the drive up. I took my little dog with me, Nala. If you've watched a few episodes, you've seen her. I actually did a whole episode on her because she, I'm pretty sure, is a type 6. She's very fear-based. She's very hypervigilant. She takes in all of her surroundings. She trusts nothing and no one except me. That's on a good day, because some days she doesn't even do that. Sometimes she's just so hypervigilant she won't even listen, because she's just focused on figuring out what feels safe to her. So she's a really difficult little dog. She's a sweet dog, but she's difficult energy to manage, particularly when you change the setting. So She doesn't often go on long car rides. In fact, she doesn't go on long car rides at all. I think yesterday was one of the longest ones she's ever taken. Um, and I figured out just getting her to the groomer, which is only 10 minutes away, I have to put her in the Sherpa bag. I have a car seat. Nala has all kinds of modes of transportation. Um, she has her Sherpa bag, she has a stroller, she has a crate. Um, it's all different ways I have of getting this little dog around so that she feels comfortable and safe. And the thing for her is feeling contained. Here's the thing about Nala. She's born on June 22nd. Um, she's also a Cancer crab. So she needs her shell. So this little, and she is little, but the Sherpa bag is pretty small. And I honestly, I didn't think it would, that she would fit in it, but she tightens herself up so tiny, that she fits in this thing and loves to be in it. It is one of her favorite places to be. So when I have her in it, I open the top and she sticks her little head out and she's happy as a clam because she's traveling with her crate. She's got her little box around her. She's got a little Sherpa bag around her, but she can pop her head out and look look around. It's a little bizarre, but this is how she will happily travel. Easier than the car seat because that's open. This way she can kind of periscope up and periscope down, and she's perfectly happy. She needs that shell. Um, what also became interesting was when I took her out of the car and, pulled over and gets, just kind of have lunch out on packed a lunch because couldn't go anywhere with her inside. But so we sat on a little park bench and she didn't have much of that. I had to finish what I was eating and get her back to the car because had taken her out of the bag while we were just sitting on the bench. And she was very, very insecure, just very, very insecure, very uptight. I could feel that Martian energy in her. And she not only wanted back in the Sherpa, but she wanted back in the car because it was like the crate within the crate, if that makes any sense. Like the car was one level of crate and then the Sherpa bag was another level of crate. And then she was fine. So it made for a difficult day, excuse me, of traveling with her. She finally caught on, but yeah, it forced me to be empathetic to the energy that was going on that she can't reason because she's a dog, right? She can't reason her way through that, but I knew what was happening. And I knew I was getting challenged and pushed back from her, and she just wasn't going to have anything to do with sitting on the park bench that day, where other days I think she would have been, more willing because it's something that we do in other places. So yeah, you work with what you've got when the energy shifts. So yeah, so that's one of my questions to you is how will you prepare for the conflicting energy of what's happening right now as it presents? And it's going to present to all of us a little differently. But we think of conflict, and I'm going to look at each of the 9 types, but when we hear conflict, most of the time, the first type we think of is type 9, right? But it's not only nines that are going to experience this. So think about how are you going to navigate this energy? How have you navigated it to this point? So here's another thing. I am that person. I am a energetically sensitive person. And when the weather changes, I feel weather changes 48 hours. It's a given. Before the weatherman talks about them, I will tell you when there's a windstorm coming or a rainstorm coming, or if there's snow 2 hours away from here, my body will feel it. And it's spot on every time. And the same thing happens with certain major transits that go on as well. I start to feel them in advance. So if you're energetically sensitive, be aware that you maybe have felt this full moon energy before it's even gotten here. So yeah, so if you've not felt it yet, how will you deal with conflict if you've already been feeling it? How have you been dealing it? How have you been dealing with it, I should say. But yeah, how have you been handling it? If it's already been presenting, have you been handling it consciously or have you been reactive? If you've been reactive, we have some things that will help you today. Um, so let's see. All right, Enneagram types. So I'm going to start with the 9 because again, that word conflict and 9, it just should be, automatically where you go. So nines, You're going to want to avoid conflict. Um, and I think that's a good thing right now. I think we all need to figure out how to avoid conflict. Again, getting back to that line in war games, the best way to win is not play at all. So I think the wisdom of the nine in wanting to avoid conflict in this case with these transits, probably okay. What's probably not okay, not probably, what's not okay is narcotizing through it. Numbing out to avoid conflict, not the way to do this one. Find another way. Find another way to go within, to understand, to gain compassion. So what's the one thing that nines do really well? They merge. Okay, you don't want to merge in a fight necessarily because you're probably not going to get anywhere, but find a way to merge with the energy at a higher vibrational level. Okay. And my ideas with the Enneagram, and I'll wave this flag right up front. I'm a little untraditional if you haven't figured that out. So I am going to find creative ways to, stretch something beneficial out of the types for you. So while avoiding conflict in a conflicting energy like Mars retrograde in Cancer, with a full moon at the same time, yeah, you don't like conflict to start with. Probably a good idea to keep avoiding conflict, but let's avoid that conflict in more of a conscious, constructive way. Don't numb out. Find a way to allow your heart to open and not just shut down and numb out. Okay? And you can allow that heart to open without engaging. You don't have to engage. Okay, you can just stand by and wait it out because here's the cool thing about the astrology, it moves. Okay, so just give it a little time and space, but don't narcotize if you're a type 9. Okay, stay awake to it, stay awake to the energy, and be compassionate toward other, always also toward self. I will never tell anybody to be compassionate to someone else without also being compassionate to yourself. I think that's just BS doing it that way. All right, you've got to do both. Um, type sixes, um, face your fears, right? What does the six want to do? My little Nala, she wants to jump in her crate, right? If you're also a Cancer, this this may play a little louder if you're a six. Um, Also, I'd be curious how many type sixes out there are Cancers. All right, so face your fears, sixes, right? And also trust your inner guidance. Also trust that wisdom, that is your birthright, the thing that sixes tend to forget that they have, right? You do have inner guidance and inner wisdom. So face those fears. Don't be afraid. Don't go into that little shell. Don't find your little Sherpa crate, but trust your inner guidance at the same time. Okay. Threes, you may be tempted to, jump into that lower three of doing it all, getting it all done, um, to the point of maybe even showing off because there's conflict, right? You're in that 3, 6, 9, right? So conflict doesn't thrill you. But you may find yourself wanting to put on a great show and prove to somebody that, you can get something done and get them out of that argumentative, kind of stance. I don't want you to do that. So quit trying to do it all. Quit trying to show off. Um, Quit trying to, the fake it till you make it that the threes do, right? When they're unhealthy. And instead, trust that inaction can actually be safe, right? That's a hard thing for a three to do. Trust that you don't have to do anything and you can still keep yourself and everyone around you safe. So you're a heart type if you're a three, and easier for you to find some compassion and just be present to somebody's anger, angst, resentment. This is somebody that's suffering. Person that you're looking at who's giving you this conflict, they're suffering. Okay. You don't have to engage them. You don't have to prove your worth to them. You can just be with them. Okay. And you don't have to say a word. Sevens, big old stop sign. Okay. Just stop. Just stop. Just stop running. Just stop trying to escape. Stop trying to get away from it. Force yourself to witness discomfort. I would say your own discomfort, because you're dealing with this person who's argumentative and aggressive and irritable, whatever, again, whatever it looks like on the spectrum, because this is going to look different for different people. Um, And just force yourself to witness discomfort, the discomfort you feel while this person is not, not in a good way. And also witness the discomfort, um, witness their suffering, witness the discomfort in their suffering. And just allow yourself to be around that, be present to that, not run away, not escape. Um, yeah, so stop. That's your word, stop. Fives, step in. That doesn't mean step in and argue. Okay. I will almost never tell anybody to do that. Um, observe. So this is your higher self, right? You know how to observe. Um, but observe from a closer viewpoint. Now, normally what I tell people with the five energy is to go further back and take a broader view. Okay. So in this one, it's step in and observe closer, kind of take a microscope to it. Okay? And you can do this back and forth. You can pull back and take that eagle eye. And then you can kind of, if you can catch a detail, allow yourself to observe a little closer. You're not saying anything, you're not engaging, you're not arguing, you're not explaining. Pay attention to that one. Fives, okay, don't explain. If somebody's melting down, the best thing to do is just observe. Um, but try to extract the details of what's going on. Don't discuss them. Person's not able, with this energy right now, nobody's able to hear that. Maybe a little further down the line, you can bring some of your five wisdom into the discussion, but this week is not the week to do that. But this is your week to teach yourself by altering the distance of how close or far away you observe. And what do you extract? What do you extract from what you're watching or listening to or feeling when somebody is expressing more Martian, aggressive, argumentative type energy. Okay. So type eights, let someone else handle it. Right? So somebody's kind of irritable, argumentative, they're acting Martian. You want to run right in and tackle it, right? Um, your job is let someone else handle it. What does that do? That's going to make you feel a little vulnerable. That's the one thing that type eights would, rather die than be vulnerable, right? So my question for you, eights, is can a battle exist without you being involved in it? That's going to be your job. It's basically putting on the brakes and letting someone else handle whatever's going on. Now here's the rub. No one might handle it. um, and you're still going to be safe. You're still going to be okay. And that's the practice. It's just being okay with not taking the bait, not taking the Martian aggressive bait. Okay. Type ones. Your job is let go of control, right? So eights are prone to anger and resentment. Um, it could also be easy for you guys to take the bait right now with the energy of the astrology. So my words to you would be let it unfold and watch, kind of like I said to the fives, just watch, but more in a let it unfold with a kind of let's see where this goes. Just kind of give the situation permission to unfold, and accept that there is perfection in whatever that moment gets to look like. And that's the one, right? The perfectionist. So just allow that, give it some air, give it some oxygen to let it be whatever it's going to be, and trust that there's perfection in that. Type twos. A typical thing that we'll say to a two is stop anticipating everyone else's needs. This is an uncomfortable moment. Stop trying to fix it by giving everybody what you already know that they need. Just stop that. It's not going to help anything. Okay. And it's going to use up your own bandwidth, which right now you need. We all need our own bandwidth right now with what's going on out there. So at least one time a day, I want you to do something that takes care of you, or don't be afraid of asking somebody to do something for you. And it could be something like super, super small. Um, but exercise that muscle of asking for, would you make me a cup of tea? That kind of thing. Something simple. Um, Obviously not the person who's having the, Martian unraveling. Um, but stop trying to fix what's uncomfortable by anticipating what somebody needs. It's probably not going to help. It's probably not going to diffuse them anyway. Depending on the person, it might make it worse. And it's not going to cultivate your energy. Cultivation is a big thing that I talk to people about in general. So yeah, you need to cultivate your own energy right now so that it's either seeing to your own needs or if you need help, asking somebody to help you out with something and find a way to say that comfortably. Usually with twos, that'll just get caught right in here or even lower, like they won't even let it out of their heart, let alone up to their throat. But don't be afraid to ask. It's a good time to practice with somebody that's safe. Again, not the person who's upset and melting down. Type fours. I'm gonna say limit your time in the deep, right? So there's conflict, there's suffering, there's home, there's emotionality, there's this Cancerian thing of, relationship, connection. Like this could really be where you want to drown. Okay. So limit how long you do that. I'm not going to tell you not to because it's almost impossible. Feel, I want you to feel. Okay. And then limit how long you allow yourself to do that. Um, and then I want you to acknowledge, and this is exercising empathy, um, you're feeling suffering, hands down. Our fours, if you're watching somebody being conflicted or you're engaged in this conflict that has to do with this emotionality, relationship, and yet there's just struggle and there's conflict and there might be yelling. Um, Realize that you're suffering in that, your angst in that somebody else is suffering too. The person who is, arguing or fighting or, exhibiting that Martian energy, that struggle, acknowledge that, not acknowledge to yourself that that person is struggling. You don't have to tell them. In fact, I would probably suggest you don't. Um, but fours enjoy being unique. They think that they can only see and feel things uniquely that the other types can't. And you certainly do feel them at a different depth. But that doesn't mean that somebody else is not struggling, that other people can be unique in their suffering, not just the fours. Okay. So that's what I would suggest that you do as a four if you're engaged in this sort of energy. So, in the next few days ahead, I'm going to be taking on these ideas a little bit further on my different social media platforms. So, below in the show notes, I will list my links to Instagram, Facebook, BlueSky, Threads, LinkedIn. I think those are all the ones that I'm on. Did I say Facebook? Yeah, I did say Facebook. So I'll have more probably every day if I can hit that target, which I hope to. I'll have a little bit more on that each day for each type through these transits to hopefully get you guys through. Um, Help you evolve your energy, cultivate your energy, to not get sucked into somebody else's karma, because guess what happens then? It becomes your karma too. And again, if you're here, I know that that's not something you want to take up. In the meantime, be sure to check out my website. I'm going to put that link in the show notes. Sign up for my free webinar. This would be a really great time to do this webinar. It's on the 9 types and setting boundaries to have healthier relationships. So that'll be in the show notes. Check out my course on the Enneagram. That's also on my website, Smart But Stuck. There's bonus material in there that incorporates some ideas from East Asian medicine and the 5 elements, and also the Bach flower remedies and how these things can both be integrated with your Enneagram type. So some fantastic tools in that course and Smart But Stuck. I also encourage you to schedule, and you can do this through the website as well, schedule a free discovery call with me to learn about the other things that I do where we can work together personally, one-on-one. I have different ways for us to work together. having to do with the Enneagram and spiritual direction and astrology. There's some programs that I have where we use those things all together, or we can use them, individually. So whatever option is best for you, check that out online. Again, you can schedule the discovery call with me to figure out which option is best for you. I also do recommend signing up for my email list on all things spirituality that I do. I don't spam anybody. If you get one email a month, it's probably a lot, but I'll update you on what's going on here, things that might be coming up or special offers that I have. So I recommend signing up for that through my website, and there'll be a link for that as well in the show notes. Thank you again for being here. Try to just roll with the waves of these transits and use the wisdom and the gifts of your Enneagram type. And you're not going to hit the mark every time. None of us do. Um, but awareness of where you can reach to express yourself from your higher self rather than from your shadow. Every attempt that you make, even if you don't hit it 100%, is still an attempt that you're making that matters. So strive and reach, do the best that you can. This is some tough energy, so cut yourself some slack with it too. Okay, so if you're not perfect with it, that's okay. Keep working at it. Trust me, I'm working at it too. All righty. Thanks so much for being here. I'll see you soon. Bye.